Okay, I had to answer that phone call because that was an important phone call coming from, I don't want to tell you, you know, the, because this is a big deal, and I'm getting some heat from, the inside supervisors. They don't want me to tell the whole story, because they don't want to confirm what Kristof said, and you know they're kind of upset with me because I'm trying to say, this is what happened. So I'm just trying to provide some footnotes here to the story, because Kristof said that the Hamas prisoners, were being raped by dogs that were trained to rape, and I'm just filling in the blank spaces here because people are thinking, well, what dogs? How do you train a dog to do that, and what kind of dogs? And I'm going to tell you right now that they were special dogs, okay? They were special dogs, and there's only a few of them, actually. There's only three dogs that do the rape, and they're all poodles. I know what you're thinking. Come on, a poodle raping a guy. How can that be? But, okay, the number one poodle that was trained to do this had a sexual deficiency. It was kind of like a Hamas guy that's secretly gay but can't tell anybody, because if the Palestinians knew that he was gay, they would take him to the tallest building, whatever building is left in Gaza, and they would find a tall building that's still left there, and they would just drop him like, kapoo, you're gay, bye, you're dead. So he had, the Hamas guy that's gay, ooh, you don't tell that. You don't talk about the being gay to the Hamas leaders or any Palestinian. I mean, that's worse than being in an Israeli prison. That would be worse, because if you tell those guys, if they find out you're gay, they're going to take you to the top of the building, and they're going to, they're not going to just kill you. They want you to be tortured. They want you to fly down a building. And then go smash like a watermelon. So the Hamas prisoner just, he happens to be gay. And, he mentioned this to his other prisoner friends. I'm gay, but I've never experienced with a dog. I mean, it kind of sounds intriguing. That's what he told the prisoner. The Hamas prisoner said it sounds a little bit intriguing. I'm not sure if it's going to really be torture. So they brought in, this poodle that has been trained by the Israelis. And the Israelis, I mean, when they do something, they do it right. I mean, they get it 100%. They don't just bring in any dog. They bring in their top number one poodle for this. And this poodle had a kind of a sexual problem. And, it started with when he was a puppy, and they put the poodle in front of a video of a female poodle that was in heat, and they smudged that stuff that comes out of the female. I hate to mention, this is kind of gross. The stuff, the gooky stuff that comes out of the female when she's in heat, they rub that on, the TV screen, and had the poodle watch with that scent, this poodle that was in heat, and this poodle was like going, the male poodle was smelling it and watching the video of the female poodle on the screen, and the female poodle had her little tail up, and she was going with her tail up. She was like, I'm ready to have puppies. And the dog was trained under those conditions to be sex crazed. I mean, poor The poor male dog. I mean, here the female there has a smell, and the female tail is up in the air, and the male dog, the male poodle is going, and just like, that kind of thing. And they realized when after they showed many videos, it's like porn. It was like porn. They were showing the male poodle of all these different female in heat, dare I say the word BIT, the word, in heat, and they trained them this way by showing all these different poodles with their tails up, on the video, one after another. They made them watch one video after another. It was like watching porn, for the poor male dog. He was like, and so when they let him do, just be a regular dog and let him, walk around in the living room, they said, okay, let's, enough of the showing him the video already. Enough, let him walk around and be a regular dog. And the dog couldn't be a regular dog after seeing all those videos of the female poodles, and then they smudged that smell on, it thought, ooh, the dog was going nuts. And then the male poodle, they knew this was the dog. This was the dog to do the job, to get, we're going to torture the Hamas prisoner with this poodle. They knew this poodle was going to do the job, because when they let him just walk around the living room, oh boy, that dog just went around humping everything. I mean, humping everything. The dog actually started humping the refrigerator. He didn't stop. He was humping, the chairs, the pillows. He immediately jumped on the couch and started humping the pillows, and he was humping the books, everything he could see, he was humping. So the Israelis said, yes, we did it. Success. We got the dog ready for the rape. So they bring in the poodle. And then they get the Hamas prisoner ready to go to get raped by the poodle. And the poodle is looking at the Hamas butt, and he's thinking, that's not a poodle. What are you doing to me? I mean, it's first of all, the Hamas butt, the guy that was a Hamas prisoner, he was kind of fat. So he sort of had like a fat, dare I say, kind of like a fat butt. And probably he ate way too much tabbouleh with way too much olive oil, and ended up with a big fat butt. And that they say that they eat goats. They like to eat goats, and they don't cook them. They just like to slit the throat and watch the blood come out. It's a tradition of theirs. And and then they eat the goat. They eat the goat without even cooking the goat. I mean, it's a mess. Forget about it. But anyway, the guy has a fat butt. So they're wondering, okay, we got the poodle, we got the special poodle, but the guy has a fat butt. He's not even going to feel, getting the thing. But the Hamas prisoner is secretly gay. So, he's thinking, bring it on, wait a minute, this is supposed to be torture, okay? You're not supposed to yell out, bring it on. But, so the poodle, they're thinking, okay, the poodle doesn't want to fuck the big fat butt. And not only that, the poodle sniffed the butt and he said, ew, it's like, I don't want to fuck this butt. But, the Israeli guard prisoner, hey, we're going to get this done. We're going to get this job done because you deserve it. You deserve to be tortured by this poodle. See, these are the specific details that Kristof left out in his article, in his commentary, in the New York Times, when he claimed that Israeli guards were torturing Hamas prisoners by getting raped by dogs, and he didn't even explain what kind of dogs. And they didn't explain that it was a special poodle that was trained for this. But the thing is that what Kristof left out is, in order for this torture to take place, they had to disguise the Hamas butt. He was bent over. I know, it's an awful image, isn't it? But I have to explain it because Kristof was the one that brought this up. So we have to get down to the specifics, and we have to get, into the nitty-gritty here. Gross, right? But, okay, the butt, okay. Now, the poodle, you have to do something to get the poodle excited. So the Israeli guy that, everybody's mad at for doing this, how dare you do this? This is like a horrible abuse. This is horrible abuse. But, he had to, this was the way it came down. And he told the Hamas guy, he said, look, if you really, want this to happen, and the Hamas goes, what are you talking about? I don't want to be tortured by a poodle. But then he said, but you're gay, so you might enjoy it. And then the Hamas guy said, yeah, maybe I will. So anyway, that's another side footnote that Kristof left out. But, the thing is, how's this poodle going to do this? Because the poodle's not going for it. Their number one poodle. They do have a backup with a golden retriever, but that's a whole different story. They don't want to use the golden retriever yet. They're just testing this out with their number one poodle that's sex crazed. The poodle that goes around humping everything. So they, how do you do this then? So then they came up with the idea, I know what we can do. We have to put a poodle tail on your butt. And the Hamas guy said, wait, what? You're going to put a poodle tail? How are you going to do that? Well, we have a little fluffy tail with, a little pom-pom at the end. It's got a cute little, it's been perfectly groomed. Nice little black pom-pom. It's, sticks out. Cute little groomed thing. Scissored just correctly the way our sex-crazed poodle likes it. And we're going to put it on your butt. So the Hamas guy goes, the Hamas prisoner says, whatever it takes, I just want to get this over with. And he's thinking, can I just get back to watching, whatever it is that I watch? Again, I don't know. There are things I watch. I don't know what they are. But can I just get back with it? And yeah, as soon as we get this tail on your butt. So they tie on a poodle tail, has a perfect little notch on it, and they smudge a little of that stuff, that comes out of the female, and they say, okay, you are going to get raped by this poodle. And the Hamas goes, get it over with, come on, let's go. So the poodle comes along, sniffs it, and what do you know? The poodle is just going at it like, the poodle's just fucking him and fucking, and the Hamas guy is going, wait a minute, I don't even feel anything. The Hamas guy goes, thanks, this is a great torture thing that I don't even feel. It's wonderful. But then all of a sudden, he said, uh-oh. And everybody went, what? He said it felt like a suppository. And the Israeli soldier that was doing this torture and abuse with the poodle dog, everybody, all the Israeli guards, everybody, they all said, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. They grabbed the poodle. Everybody left, and they took, they ran as fast as they could. See, Kristof left these details out because that was the torture. See, that was the thing that made it torturous. the poodle stuck his lipstick in the butt, and it was like a suppository. And now the Hamas guy was being tortured because, you know, he had to do, you know what. And everybody, you know, so the soldiers grabbed their things. Let's get out of here before it happens. And they all left. And, you know, that's how it happened. So, you know, this is the specifics of the torture and the abuse. And I had to just explain because Kristof didn't bring in the specifics. And so, you know, now you know how this happened with the dog rape. Okay, thank you for listening. I hope that clears up any controversy, any questions, any, like, when people are saying, I don't understand what, you know, what dogs did they use for this and how did it happen? I can tell you for sure they didn't use a German Shepherd. They didn't, you know, even a German Shepherd, when they're breeding, it's only about that big, right? You know, size of a suppository. Same with the, you know, if they brought in a Doberman and a Pit Bull, you know. Now, they're all about the same size, about that size. So, you know, it wouldn't be that much different from a poodle. But they decided to go with the poodle because the poodle, you know, had been trained to be sex crazed, humping everything. So these are the details that were left out of the New York Times. So thank you for listening. I hope that clears everything up for everybody. All right. Bye-bye.